What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 3 of Rausch TV. I'm your host, Chris Rausch, as well as the guy that is running for the state senate for District 30 in North Dakota. Welcome back to the show. You know, we like to intro these things, and we are still waiting for our official intro video and theme song to get done. Until we get those things 100% though, we go old school. We reach for the box of Crayola markers, we reach for the boom box, and we kick things off like this. We're going to start off this week by talking about restrooms. Now, I know what you're probably hoping I'm going to say, and that's that I'm going to introduce legislation to make it a misdemeanor for men to go into public restrooms and dribble all over the floor. And I completely understand why you would be hoping I would say that, because I too am sick and tired of walking into a public restroom and stepping all over in your puddles, bros, while my shoes are getting ruined. What is wrong with you? Why can't you aim? Maybe you do belong in jail. Okay, all right. We're not talking about that today. We are talking, of course, about the transgender issue, and this all stemmed from an action in the North Carolina state legislature where they nixed the opportunity for transgender people to be able to go into restrooms of the gender they identify with. President Obama, of course, followed that up by saying, whoa, 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 not so fast, and issued an order that at least in public schools, that people would be able to use the restrooms of the gender they identified with. Now, when you have President Obama and order and compassion all kind of mixed in together, you just knew that the North Dakota legislature and elected officials were going to get themselves mixed up in this and make everybody look bad. It's kind of like when you have a piano dangling by a rope over a sidewalk and there are cartoon characters anywhere nearby. You know that that piano is going to snap and it's going to fall down and it's going to crush someone, and you just have this sinking feeling that there's nothing I can do about it. I might as well just go buy a cartoon coffin for them. Well, it's come. It has happened now, and we have articles from the Bismarck Tribune documenting this descent into madness from May 18th, first discussing that schools risk losing federal funding if they don't allow transgender students to use bathrooms and locker rooms that match their gender identity. And then a quote from our governor, Jack Dalrymple, saying that this is another example of federal overreach. Then from school superintendent Kirsten Baszler, it's frustrating to have the overreach from Washington to try to have a one-size-fits-all solution. From May 22nd, you have Rep. KC, of course, Kevin Kramer, no stranger to making these kind of comments, says that we should not be, quote, enhancing their confusion, but helping with who they are and not on a given day who they feel like they want to be. He later, of course, used the phrase executive overreach and said that we would not just be accommodating them, but encouraging such behavior. Then we go on to June 2nd, where we have the gubernatorial candidates, Wayne Stenjum, Doug Burgum, both agreeing that Obama engaged in federal overreach. Do you think that they like their buzzwords? I don't know. And Burgum saying that we have a quote, a president who thinks he's got to be the bathroom police, unquote. And then, of course, we have here from May 28th that the Attorney General Wayne Stenjum is filing a separate lawsuit against the federal government over bathroom policy for transgender students. This, of course, is all nonsense. It is so disingenuous to raise this as a federal versus state issue. And it's so disingenuous, and it's so easy to see that because, of course, we have this long history of states having separate schools, separate restrooms, separate fountains, separate restaurants based on race, right? And the federal government had to step in because, as you know, some of these guys may not know, the federal Constitution guarantees equal rights, and so the federal government makes sure that that's enforced. And if the federal government didn't get involved every once in a while, nothing would ever get done. And we can see that because very recently they found a school in the Deep South that was still segregated, like until the last couple of weeks. So there are states that will keep on discriminating against people as long as they can, and the federal government has to come in and has to say, no, the Constitution that is there for all Americans protects you, and we're not going to allow this to happen. There's also the argument, of course, that this is opening the door to predators coming in to the women's room, that I guess that they think that some people would take advantage of this and put on a wig and go in there to watch women in the bathroom. This is, of course, you know, seems to be easily distinguished because people can do that now. There's nothing to stop someone from putting on a wig and going into the women's room right now. It's not going to change anything because you're allowing people who inside know and believe that they are this gender because they can go in there. It doesn't all of a sudden, you know, have this parade of creepy predators following them in there. It's nonsense. So no, this is discrimination. It's pure and simple. It's so easy to see that. And it is so weird to me why this seems so important to these legislators, these candidates, these administrators, why it is so important to them to discriminate against North Dakotans and make them feel like lesser human beings, that they would be willing to throw away billions of dollars in federal education money just so they get to discriminate against people. It just boggles my mind. And I just sit here and I think to myself, Jesus. And that wasn't me using the Lord's name in vain. That was me calling out to Jesus and saying, hey man, we got this guy here named Kevin Kramer. You've probably heard of him. He talks about you every chance he gets, but he has absolutely no idea what you're talking about. So you really need to come here and explain your message about compassion and love and human kindness, because dude's not getting it, and he's a big fan of yours, so I think he'll listen to you. We had the opening song earlier in our intro. That was from a band called Against Me, and their lead singer is a woman named Laura Jane Grace, who is a transgendered woman. So Laura was born and lived for quite a few years as Tom Gable, and then a few years came out and said, no, I am a woman and I'm going to be transitioning. And so we watched, you know, for the next couple of years as she went through a very public and difficult transition, where she did get a lot of support, but at the same time, you know, had some ridicule, went through personal turmoil, and carried such a heavy burden on her shoulders. And it's people like Laura that I think about when I hear people like KC and the gang railing against transgender people. And I think about how disgusting and how much of a disgrace it is to hear them say these things. Because Laura Jane Grace is a hero. And we should all be so brave, and we should all know who we are with such certainty as Laura does. And Kevin Kramer should have even a fraction of the integrity that Laura Jane Grace has. This is a really important time in our state. It's time where we have to collectively look into our own souls and decide what kind of state we're going to be, and if we are going to be open and welcoming and care about each other, or if we're going to embrace discrimination because it seems like the easy thing to do. We can prevent this. We can prevent it if we all work together and stand together and do this now. We let these people know that this is not the way to treat North Dakotans, and we stop them at the legislature, both in the election this fall and in the session starting in January. So that piano that's dangling over the sidewalk, we can clear that away, get all the cartoon characters of safety, safely cut down the piano, and then bash the hell out of the thing with baseball bats to make sure that nobody gets crushed by this one. So thank you for tuning in to episode number 3. It's been awesome to have you. Last week I teased you with Rausch for Senate shirt. We are going to have those up on the website soon and on our Facebook page, so RauschForSenate.com and Facebook.com/RauschForSenate, where we're going to have a win a t-shirt contest that people who donate at least $20 will be entered into a drawing, and over a period of a few days we'll be drawing 5 names of people that win free Rausch for Senate t-shirts. It's going to be totally awesome. You're going to totally want to get one of those. All the kids are going to have them. It's going to be like, you know, you're going to be kind of sitting at the lunch table by yourself if you don't get one of these things soon. So check that out, RauschForSenate.com, Facebook.com/RauschForSenate. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.